this is Aynsley Salzman, and today I'm going to be giving you a brief overview of my writing lab for composition. So let's get started. I'm going to highlight some of my favorite features in the lab, and we're going to start today with writing skills. Writing skills is what we call the meat and potatoes of my writing lab for comp. This is all of our learning path modules. We have 11 here. Students will start out by taking a diagnostic test that's called a path builder, and then they'll be given a personalized learning path based on what areas they are weak in and what areas of strength. So what happens is the system will know once that student takes the diagnostic what areas they really need to remediate on, and then they will be given that learning path. Now you'll notice here that these modules start out very basic. So they start out with those basic grammar skills. We know now with a lot of the changing laws, especially in Florida, the co-requisite model is becoming more and more prevalent, and students with developmental needs are going to end up in the composition level classroom. So we built in these extra modules to give students that opportunity to remediate in those areas before they move into those higher order skills over here. So over in this first module, I'm going to click on Understanding Basic Grammar. So I mentioned that the student does take a diagnostic test, a path builder, when they launch into the lab. We also have a skills check. This is our second layer or our second tier diagnostic test. So within this particular area, the student will take this second tier diagnostic, and then the computer will know we have an adaptive learning tool to identify what areas that student needs to work on. So I'm just going to pull this down over here so you can see the skills check. So we have 25 questions, and in this case the skills check was already taken. So this is the learning path that was created for that individual student. Now over here on the left you'll see all the areas marked with a pencil that need study, and then any areas that the student may have mastered already or tested out of, they'll have a star. So very easy for them to know what exactly they need to work on and what areas they've mastered by their score over here. So we have a host of different types of activities for students. We have an overview, we have animation for them, we have recall activities, because we know that students learn in different ways, so we want to make sure that we're giving them options and we're really engaging them. So as the student's working through these questions, they're actually going to be receiving feedback. That actually just pulled up my skills check. So I'm going to go back here to one of the recall questions to show you the type of feedback that students will get as they are answering these questions. So if they answer this question here and it's the wrong answer, the computer will actually, you can check the answer, it will tell them why it's not correct, and it will also help them to choose a better answer. So then we'll pick another one, we'll do a final check, and if it's not correct, it will give them the right answer. So these are just ways for the student to work through the material and also help them really understand what they are working on. And then over here on the right, students can pull up animation. We have a glossary. They can actually email their instructor if you want to set it up that way. You can do that, but it's not necessary. So that's just an example of one of the modules. We're going to leave this page. And then I'm going to pull up one of these higher order modules, Reading Critically and Rhetorically, just to show you here. We also have a post-test, which I didn't mention before. So as the students working on their activities, once they complete all of the activities that they need to complete, they will then take a post-test to demonstrate topic mastery. So every single module has activities based on how that student does on their diagnostic, and then they will take a post-test at the very end to demonstrate that topic mastery. And if there's any areas that you or the student feels that they need to continue to work through, we do have extra practice questions. We have over thousands of questions that go really deep to the objective level. So as you'll see here, you can actually drill down to find out what specifically that student might need to be working on, and you can assign that. And over here, you'll just see all of the questions that we have. We have 6,500 extra practice questions for students. So the next thing that I wanted to point out is writing practice. This is something that really sets our lab apart. It's something that we're really excited about at Pearson because we hear from instructors all the time that they want their students to be able to write more, to write better, to get that writing practice without having the administrative hassle of grading hundreds of papers. So what we've done is we've trained the system. We've chosen 13 different prompts. We've graded thousands of essays using a common rubric, and we've trained the system to make auto-graded, to give auto-graded feedback for students. So I'm going to show you what that looks like using a sample essay. So I plugged in a sample essay over here, and then I'm going to submit it for extra feedback. And it has 3 options, 3 submissions that they can do. And then the student will then get very detailed feedback on how they've done on their essay, ideas, their organization of their essay, conventions, their overall score. We've got sentence fluency, voice. So these are what they'll be graded on. And then they can actually see, get some more feedback over here. What is a 5, a 6, and what does that mean? They can click on the more feedback to dig a little bit deeper into the score that they received. And then we also have some grammar tips and spelling tips as well. The idea of this assignment is really for low stakes writing. So it will actually go to the grade book, but you can determine how much credit you want it to be in your course. It's just giving students that extra writing practice. And like I said, we've trained the system, so it's very, very accurate, and it's really giving them that opportunity to practice that writing so that they can improve by the end of the course. So I'm going to go back to our original course, and like I said, we have 13 different prompts. They're all in here, and you can choose which ones you want to assign. Another hallmark feature of MyWritingLab for Comp is smart thinking. And some of you may already be familiar with smart thinking. We also call it Pearson Tutor Services. So essentially what we've done is we've purchased smart thinking, and we have added 3 submissions into MyWritingLab for Comp where students can submit up to 3 essays to certified trained tutors, and those tutors will work on critiquing that essay for students, and they will turn it back to that student within 12 to 48 hours. And the really nice thing about smart thinking is that students can really dig into what areas they're having problems with or they're struggling with, and they can have that tutor focus in on main idea, organization, use of resources. So they get 3 submissions, so they could use each essay, focusing on something different. They can have that tutor really hone in on those specific things that they need addressed, so that way when they go to rewrite their paper and revise their paper, they're really working through those areas that they're struggling on. So 3 submissions with smart thinking. And then another thing I wanted to show you before we conclude today is how to create a writing assignment. It's so easy. We've actually partnered with Turnitin, so you don't actually have to send your students somewhere else. They can do it all within the lab. So I clicked right here on Activities Manager. I'm going to click on Writing, Grammar, and Research. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to create a writing assignment. So we'll create a writing assignment right there. I'm going to label it, so we'll call this a reflection paper. You can hit next. Oh, we'll do this reflection paper 3. I already have one saved. So when you go and enter the type of paper, you're actually going to have some preferences. You can choose the number of drafts that you want. So you can choose the drafts, the start date, the end date, and then we've got the originality check. So you can check that off if you want students to have their papers submitted first for originality before they turn it into you. So it's built right into the lab. And then you can put your written instructions down here, and you can upload any instructions that you'd like. Then we're going to hit continue. You can add sample documents as well, and you can also add a checklist. So if you want students to check anything before they turn their paper in, kind of reminding them, like proofread your work or check to make sure that you followed the instructions, you can actually add that checklist in too. So we'll just hit continue. And then we've got our rubrics. So we've actually we've matched our rubrics with the WPA outcomes, And you can use one of our rubrics, our previously saved rubrics in the system, or you can create your own rubric. So if we click on other rubrics here, I'll just show you what a basic rubric looks like. You can preview that over here so you can see what a 1, a 2, 3, a 4, a 5 is. And then like I said, if you don't want to use one of our rubrics, you can go ahead and create your own. If you have any department rubrics, you can do that over here, create your columns, your scale, and all of that, and then you can save that in the system to use. So once you choose your rubric, you just hit continue, select how you want the papers to be checked using that originality check, and then click finish, and then you can actually assign it right to the calendar. So right when I signed into the lab, you may recall there was a calendar. That's what students will see when assignments are due based on how you assign them to the calendar, what date you choose. So you would just hit save and assign, and then it will show up right on their calendar and they can launch right into that activity. So before we conclude today, I also wanted to point out one more thing, and that is the gradebook. I know that's something that's really important to instructors, so I didn't want to conclude today without giving you a brief overview of the gradebook. We have some sample students loaded in here, so you'll be able to get an idea of all the different views that you have. We have 4 different gradebook views. You can view it by learning path, by all assignments, by student, and by module. And you can also export that data as well. So within the learning path, you'll really be able to see how your students are doing. This one is not populated, so let me click on my other course. I just toggled from a different course because I wanted to show you one that actually does have some grades in there to give you a better idea of what that looks like. So here we do have some sample students. The class roster is down here, and as I mentioned, you can view it by learning path, and then you can actually see here by module and by topic, and all of your students, their overall scores. We'll click here on Bill Clinton, and then you can really drill down to see how those students are doing based on what you've assigned. So we would just have to locate what was assigned in here, and then you can actually drill down, and we'll show the mastery status over on the right. So you can export data from the gradebook. So if you do want to export it, you want to upload it to your LMS, or you want to put it in an Excel spreadsheet, you can do that right over here. And also within the gradebook, it will show you very clearly when you have an assignment that needs grading. We've got an alerts tab over here, so this makes it really easy for you to keep track of what you still need to grade and any submissions from students. So we have one over here. So I hope that is a very basic overview today that gives you just a general idea of MyWritingLab for Comp. There's so much involved in this lab. You can actually customize it as much or as little as you want, so that's what makes it so unique. And here is our course home. This is the calendar that I mentioned before, so any assignments will show up right there. Very easy for your students to use, very easy for you to keep track of their progress. I look forward to meeting with you in person to go over your favorite features some more in detail. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great day.